So this is assignment 76, and I don't know if we're going to be graphing. We might graph a few of these absolute value functions. The graphs of the absolute value functions are going to look something like this, either going upwards or they're going to look like this going downwards. And today we're going to be finding where the vertex is. In other words, where do the two segments come together. We're going to be finding the axis of symmetry, which axis of symmetry is if I drew a straight line and I flip this over, where is it going to be symmetrical? All right. And then we're going to find the y and the x intercepts, the domain. What is the domain? What does domain mean? Nobody knows what domain means?
It's the x.
It's the x values. So for example, in fact, we'll go through this one. In fact, in this example, the vertex is at 0, 0 by visual, and then we're going to be calculating it soon. So the vertex is at 0, 0. The axis of symmetry is where x is 0. It's right here, such that if I fold that graph over, it's going to be symmetrical. And it says where are the x and the y intercepts? Well, at 0, 0. Is that right? It intercepts at the y at 0 and at the x at 0. The actual point is 0, 0. Okay. Then the domain are all the x's. So who thinks they know what the domain is? If I'm going along the x's, can my x's be negative? Yes, no, maybe? Aren't they some of negative? Negative 2, 2. Negative 4, 4. Could there be other negatives? Yes, an infinite amount. And what about the positives? Can there be positive x's? Yes. And so this is the set of all real numbers, and you're going to use that over and over again today. And then the range is the value of your y's. So do we have any y's in the negative? No, like if I go over 2, there's nothing down here. It's always going to be positive. If I go over 4, the y is going to be positive. And on this side, if it's negative 2, my y is still positive. If I go negative 4, my y is still positive. So my range is, where is my lowest y? At 0. So the range is going to be values that are equal to or greater than 0. My range is going to be y values that are equal to or greater than 0. So let's go ahead and see. Okay. So the other important thing is that you're going to see graphs that they open up or they open down. They will open up. What is this one? Okay. This is an example where if it's a positive number in front of the absolute value, it will open up in this direction. If you see a one like this, where there's a negative in front of it, it is going to open in a down pattern. And let me see, make a function table. It says identify the vertex. What is the vertex on this one? 0, 0. You know, it's going to be right here. The axis of symmetry, again, where it's at where x is always equal to 0, such that if I folded this over, it would be symmetrical. And the x-intercept, where does it hit the x? At 0. Where does it hit the y? Also at 0. And the domain, again, what is the domain? Yeah, so it could be any negative x's. It could be any positive x's. So it's going to be all real numbers. But this time on the range, do I have any positive y's at all? No, all of my y's are going to be negative, so it's going to be, my range is going to be where y is equal to or less than 0. And maybe we'll graph one of these in just a second so we can see. Okay. So fact, maybe what I should do. Let me think about this for a second. How I'm going to go over this. All right, in fact, maybe what we'll do, so you can, we're not going to graph hardly any, but it says, okay, so it says graph this. So if you're graphing this, and I gave you some graph paper so we can kind of get an idea. In fact, let's go ahead and go through this one example. Y is equal to x, absolute value of x minus 2. So if you're, what's that? Oh, you didn't get. So that if you forget what we're talking about today, then you can always do it by graphing. So when you're graphing an absolute value, you always want to choose a positive, a negative, and for sure a 0. So this is my x, this is my y. So if we picked, yeah, in fact, I'll go with theirs. If we put a negative 2, if I put a negative 2 here, who knows what happens because it's an absolute value. In fact, I'll do it to the side. Okay. What's going to happen with that absolute value of negative 2? It becomes a positive 2. And positive 2 minus 2 is going to end up being what? A 0. Okay. And then how many points did they pick? Well, they picked a lot. We're just going to pick a few. Then I'm going to pick maybe a 0. So if I put here absolute value of 0 minus 2, who knows what that y value is going to be? Negative 2. And then I'm going to put a positive 2. And if I put a positive 2 here, minus 2. Okay. So this one's going to end up being what? Yeah, 2 minus 2 is going to be 0 again. So again, if you're graphing this, then you can kind of see a lot of things here. So I'm going to go back 1, 2, graph my first point, and then 0. My next one is 0. I don't walk at all, but I go down 1, 2. And then my next one is 1, 2, 0. And then you can kind of see, you can get an idea that this is going to be, can you see where the vertex is? It's going to kind of go like something like that. So if on a test, if you forget everything we're saying, is you could always graph it and see where the vertex is. The line of symmetry is, okay, the vertex is at, where was it at? 0, negative 2. The line of symmetry is where x is equal to 0. And, oh, the x-intercept. What is the x-intercept? Where is it? In fact, are there 2 of them? Let me see what they're saying. It looks like it's hitting it twice. So I'm going to say I've got 2 intercepts, one when it's a negative 2, 0, and the other one it's going to hit when it's positive 2, it's a 0. Those are the 2 places where it's hitting. I think they write it a little bit different. They're saying the x-intercept is negative 2, 2. I like to do it in order pairs, so if I'm plotting this, I know exactly where it is, because is negative 2 here, is it there? But I can tell if I write it like that, I know it's right on that x line. And then the y-intercept, where's the only place it hits on the y? Yeah, this right here, where it is at 0 and negative 2. And what else did they want us to find? Oh, the range, or the domain. What is the domain? All real numbers. And you can just put, this is kind of an abbreviation for real, all real numbers. And then the range is where, look at that carefully, where the y is, where does the y start? At the -2. So it can be equal to -2, or it could be what? Greater than. Okay. And then, so we did it by graphing. Okay. Again, it's been a while since I've done this. It says another way that you can get most of this is, it says identify the vertex of the following absolute value functions. It says hint, and then we're going to come back to that picture that we just drew. Hint, the vertex occurs where the absolute value expression equals 0. So that's real interesting because I was looking at that. Oh, hold on just a second. It's doing funny things here. So what they're really talking about, because you're going to have a lot of things going on, it's just where this is equal to 0. It's just where this is equal to 0. In fact, let's go back to the one that we just did. If I don't draw a picture, it's just where this is equal to 0. Okay, so how would I make that absolute value a 0? By putting what number in here? Well, if I put a 2, oh, I see what you're saying. I ignore this though. It's just where the absolute value, it's just the absolute value expression itself. In other words, I'm ignoring this and I'm just going to make that 0. Okay, so it's where when that is 0, okay, so when that is 0 and that becomes a 0, what is my y going to be? It's going to be a -2. So I make that a 0, and that is going to be my vertex. And then we're going to do a couple more in just a second. So I should get you an answer bank. That's my vertex. And then because it's a positive, because this is a positive absolute value, is it going to go up? Is the opening going to go up or go down? It's going to go up. So this tells me a lot of things. It's going to go up. And then the y-intercepts, I would probably just have to graph it. Would I have to graph it? What were my intercepts? No, I don't think so. I think this is it right here. That's my y-intercept. I would have to graph it, I think, to get my x-intercepts because I don't know another way to get it. All right, so let's go ahead and look at, and when all else fails, you can graph it and see. So let's go ahead and look here. So I don't want to do that, but we're going to go to this one. Okay. So, and let me get my big book out because I don't want to make a mistake. So I'm going to go to 1. All they want you to do on this page is name the vertex. So it's when this absolute value is a 0. So let me see. How would I make this a 0? The x would have to be a what? A negative what? It's going to have to be a -9. This x would have to be a -9. So I'm thinking that the vertex is going to be, is it, when it's 9, -9, 0. Hold on just one second. I don't want to lie to you. This is page 5-8. To get 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8. I do not want to lie. And that's it. Okay. So the vertex is going to be, what caused that to be a 0 is -9. And then when that's a -9, the y becomes a what? A 0. And then, in fact, just for the heck of it, is, if I wasn't sure, is I'm going to very quickly go ahead and see what this looks like. So this is my number 2, and you don't have to be graphing them And I've got extra graph paper if you do want to graph them. So this would be, I'm going to make each of these 2 because that's a -9. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Oh, yeah, 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So -9, 0. So it's saying that that is my vertex. Do you think that this one is going to go up or go down? It's a positive in front of here. It should be going up. So just until you get real familiar, I would go ahead and maybe graph a couple of these. And so I'm going to do that so I can see what's going on here. And so I'm going to put that equation again, and I'm going to put a 2, I think I'll use a 3. I think a 3, a 0, and a -3. And then I'm going to find out what my other points are. The y is going to be equal to absolute value. Okay. So the first time I'm going to put x, it is x plus 9. But I'm going to choose for my first x, let me raise this up a little bit. I'm going to choose for my first x a positive number. Okay. And then I'll do a 0. And then I'll do a negative number. So when I pick those 3 points, what is my y going to be on the first one? 3 plus 9 is what? 12. An absolute value of 12 is going to be 12. And this might be, maybe I won't go to the second side today. Maybe we'll do the first and maybe graph some of them. And then the second one, when I put a 0 there, who knows what my y is going to be? It's going to be 9. And then when this is a -3, 9 minus 3 is what? Is going to be 6, and the absolute value is 6. So just to see if it's working out, it says that's supposed to be where the vertex is. So I'm going to graph the other points. And again, these I did in units of 2. So 3, it's 2, 3, and up 12, which would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay. And my 0, 9, I don't move at all, but I go up 2, 4, 6, 8, and in between it's 9. And then I'm doing a -3. I'm going to have to graph, if I really want to see what this graph looks like, I'm probably going to have to graph another point. So when I put a -3, 2, 3, I go up 2, 4, 6. Well, something's wrong here. I need some points over here. So I need to pick another x to the left of this. We hope it's the vertex. So I'm going to pick maybe a -12. So I'm going to say when my x is -12, let's see what's going to happen. Plus 9. So what happens when my x is a -12? What does that become? It becomes a -3, but the absolute value is going to be a what? A +3. And so let's see how that graph goes. So again, I saw that I'm only getting one side of it, so I had to pick something beyond that. So when it's -12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, the y goes up 2, 3. Okay, and then I can kind of see what my graph is going to look like. Here was that other point. So it was correct. Our vertex was at the, what did we say it was? The -9, 0. So let's look at this, and we're just going to name some of the vertex. How can I make this 0? So it's going to be +4. So there's my vertex. When x is 4, my y is what? 0. That's my vertex. Then on this one, what would cause this absolute value to be 0? It's going to be a 10. So my x is 10, and that will cause my y to be what? 0. Okay. But then, oh no. Okay. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So when they're saying to identify the vertex occurs where the absolute value expression equals 0. Well, all they mean that's equaling 0 is right here. So how can I make that absolute expression equal to 0? Just put a 0. So now, this is a little different then. When I make that absolute value a 0, again, I'm going to just put it as a 0. What's my y value? The negative 15. That is where my vertex is going to be. And again, we can test it out. I'm going to test it out with a graph. You don't have to, but I will just so you can see. So if I want to, I'm saying something's wrong here. So let me see. 0, negative 15, 0, and I'll make these 2 again. 0 and then down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. So that would be way down there. And then if I actually wanted to graph this, y is equal to absolute value of x minus 15. And I'm going to pick some x's and see what the y would be. So this is absolute value minus 15, absolute value minus 15, absolute value minus 15. So I'm going to pick maybe 5. I'm going to pick a 0, and then I'm going to pick a negative 5. Okay. So on this one, when my x is a 5, when my x is a 5, who knows what my y will be? Because this comes out as a 5, minus 15 would be what? A negative 10. And then when my x is a 0, who knows what my y is going to be? A negative 15. And when my x is a negative 5, what happens to that negative 5 as absolute value? It becomes a positive 5. So positive 5 minus 15 becomes a negative 10 again. So again, if I'm graphing those, oh, and one of them, oh yeah, we hit this was our vertex. So 5 is 2, 4, 5, and then down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then this one I already graphed, negative 5, 2, 4, 5, and then down 10, which would be right here. So then I can see that my graph is going to go this way, and indeed that was my vertex. So you don't have to check it each and every time. So let's see if we can get these a little bit faster. By the way, is this graph going to go, we already see, it goes up. We might as well do that. This one goes up. So let's look at this one right below. How can I make this absolute value expression 0? Positive 25. And when that is a positive 25 and that becomes a 0, what is the y going to be? Negative 31. That is your, I do not want to graph this. That is your vertex point. Is this graph going to go up or down? Up, because it is positive. The one right below it, who knows what this x has to be for this expression right here to be 0? It has to be a positive 26. And when that becomes a 0, the y is going to equal a what? 51. That is my vertex. Okay. Go straight down. And by the way, is this graph going to go up or down? Luke, focus. Luke, is this graph going to go up or down? I look right out here. Is this positive absolute value or no? It's going to go up because it's a positive absolute value. And then this one. All right. So who knows what this x is going to be for this to be 0? Yeah, it has to be a negative 7.3. And then when I make that a negative 7.3, who knows what my y is going to be? Yeah. It's going to be 0 because negative times a 0 is a 0. Now, is this graph going to go up or down?
Down.
It's going to go down. Where is, I need to see what time it is. Because we might not get as much done as I wanted to. Ugh, we're not going to get to the other side. All right. Well, I have to decide when we were going to have a test. Are y'all going to be here Wednesday? Do you guys have tests on Wednesday?
Oh, no.
I'm not sure. We don't have a schedule.
You don't have a schedule?
We should have a schedule.
I think we're supposed to be testing tomorrow. Okay. All right. So I think because of that, let's see what we can do. All right. So let's go ahead and look at this one. I want to find the vertex. So what would this x have to be for this inside here to become 0? A what? 1/8. Okay. Now on this one, when that becomes a 0, what's my y going to be? Negative 27, because this 0, negative times 0 is just still a 0, minus that 2.7, so it's going to be a negative 2.7. And then which way does the graph go, up or down? It goes down. So that's I think that's the biggest thing I want you to get today, is the vertex and which direction that it goes. We hardly have any time. What?
Do you have to give the direction for all of them?
They don't say, but you know what? I don't think it hurts because we're not going to we're not going to get to this side. This side, they kind of want the same thing, except they want also the domain, tell whether it goes up and down. And I think we can kind of do that with this side. Do you think? I think we can. Although I wouldn't be able to get the domain. I might have to graph it to get the domain. I'm not going to worry about the domain today. So let's go ahead and we'll try to get the vertex for all of these. In fact, I'm going to flip it over. Let's see if this is any different. Okay, so tomorrow we'll get all of this other stuff, the axis of symmetry, the intercepts, the domain. We just don't have time. So on this one, what would the vertex be on this 26? -8 and 0. Okay. And again, is this going to go up or down? So those are the only two things we'll do today, is just get the vertex and say if it's up or down. So on this one, is it going to be up or down? It's going to be up. On this one, how can I make the x a 0? Make it a 0. And when my x is a 0, what is my y going to be on this one?
9.
It's going to be 9. So that is my vertex, and it's going to go up or down? Up. Then we're going to go straight down. I'll tell you which ones you're going to do. Then on this one, how can I make that absolute value 0? By making the what a 0? The x. So the x is 0. When that x is a 0, what's my y going to be?
12.
On 30?
Oh, sorry.
I'm going straight down.
5.
It's going to be 5. So that's my vertex. And is it going to go up or down?
Down.
It's going to go down because of that negative. And leave some room because tomorrow we'll get the domains. If not tomorrow, I have to make a test, guys. Are we ready for a test tomorrow? Not on this, though. Like on...
I think we should review.
Okay, well, so Wednesday will be the test. Okay, so Wednesday.
Are we going to review?
A little bit. Okay, just a little bit. All right, then on this one, what is your x value going to be such that I want to make this a 0? Is 1.8. And if I make that a 0, then what is my y going to be? 2.9. That is the vertex where it comes to the point. And is this going to be up or down graph? Is it opening to the up or down? It's going to be up. And on this one, it is going to be what? Who knows what that? Negative 1 over 4. Very good. And then when that becomes a 0, what's my y going to be? The negative 1 over 2. Okay. And is this going to be up graph or down graph? Down. Okay. And people, that's about it. So I think it's going to go pretty fast. Can you handle both pages of that? Just getting the vertex on this side. We already know up or down. So just getting the vertex on this side, and on these last 6, getting the vertex and if it's up or down. Can you handle that, work together? Because I don't have an answer there. Is it pretty easy? Okay.
Yeah, it was easy.
Okay, good.